All right, in the interest of keeping everyone's schedule, I'll go ahead and get started. Today's session is going to be pretty informal. As you may have noticed when you came in, I am recording the session. Depending on how everything shakes out, I might be able to make it available to everyone. Might make it public, so if people couldn't make it to this meeting, then we'll be able to share it out. My name is Mark. I work with Academic Technologies. I am the supervisor for the preventive maintenance team that works on nights and weekends. So kind of a behind-the-scenes crew. Just we'll take any issues from the day and try and address them best we can. And then on weekends, we try to get a full check of all of our classrooms if we can get that in as well. Team is a little short-staffed at the moment, so that's a pretty common theme I'm hearing across campus. So something to maybe expect once classes start up. Student labor has been decimated, and we're pretty much starting over from scratch in terms of training and staffing. It's going to be a little messy, but that's not to say we aren't available. Our department is open. We do have live support. We should be able to help either in a remote capacity or send out what technicians we do have as soon as they're able. Before I get into the material, I also want to sort of address what I can talk about, what I won't be able to talk about. There are a lot of questions, operational questions, that are still up in the air. All I can really speak to today is the technology in each classroom, what it can do, what it can't do. In terms of what you all have been asked to do, I have zero information on that. That is up to your departments or the school writ large, but I don't have any input or information on what is quote-unquote expected of instructors. So with that, if there are any initial questions before I jump into the material, it should only take about 10-15 minutes, and then we have 3 staff members from Learning Technologies here as well. This is the team that supports the software. My department's kind of the hardware. So we're both here today to answer your questions individually after this little presentation. But any basic questions that I could answer before I jump in? Great. Okay. So just a 4-slide presentation here, really quick. This is our classroom website. If you aren't familiar with it, it's sort of a directory. I'll click into it here. Just all the buildings that we support. We support what are called general assignment classrooms. So undergraduate, any discipline can schedule these rooms through central scheduling. You can find your building. I'll go into Kane Hall here. Your classroom, Kane 110. And each one of these entries has a 360 photo that you can full screen interact with. Looks a little familiar and lets you know what to expect in terms of equipment, furnishings, lecture capture, which is what we're here to discuss. And then there's schematics that you can pull up. These take a little bit to load in PDF form, but this will give you the seating, the instructor area and the student seating areas of each classroom. We've been updating these throughout the pandemic, so if you find one and it doesn't look accurate, please email help@UW and let us know, and we'll fix it. Let's see. And room instructions. It's a copy of these cards that we have in every room. These were rolled out right before the pandemic started. We were having pretty good success with these. So every room is equipped with these. If you get stuck, they're also available online. It's going to be the same format, though. All right. We sent out an email to everyone that was teaching in one of these classrooms with either an AV bridge or what we're calling a USB camera and audio interface, or you have an automated recorder, which I'm using right now. Most rooms have a record light at the back or a sign like this room. There's also a little icon in the corner of your touch panel to let you know that you're recording. If you think you're recording and you don't see the icon here or a record light, you might want to just call and double check, and we can check to make sure that the recording is actually happening, or we can manually start it. But I sent out an email to everyone in one of these rooms, and if you didn't register for this via the LT website, I am assuming that's how you got this information. All this information is in that email. If you got it and it was sent to spam, just go ahead and look for it. It's got all of this information in the slideshow. Sends you to LT's website, CTL's website. And here we have a card. This is what the room instruction card will look like by and large for the lecture capture USB self-service camera and audio feed. So if you're scheduled for a room that does not have an automated recorder, you will be scheduled in a room that has this USB self-service camera and audio feed. Every room that has an automated recorder also has this. So you can have both or just the USB input by itself for your laptop. I'll show you how to use both those systems in just a moment, but just wanted to put this up here. This is what you would look for if you're in the room and you're going to be using the AV bridge or the USB camera audio feed. This card will be on this ring as well. And then a slide for automated Panopto recordings. This is already on these cards as well. This is what I'm going to start with today because it's so deceivingly simple that a lot of people receive this email or were informed by the university that, encouraged to use Panopto. This is the easiest way to go about it. So yeah, before I jump in, one last opportunity for just generic questions. We'll come back to this at the end as well. Anything I've said that's super confusing yet? Okay, great. So first, I'm going to just sort of talk about the automated recording because there's not much I can show you about it. I guess there's the Canvas scheduling tool, which we can bring up, but it is... I thought I had a link to it. I'm sorry. The automated Panopto scheduling tool is in Canvas. It's a menu you click on, and it will ask you to provide it's actually associated with your course already. We have a tool that links that course to the room that you're in, and it will let you know if that is available to you. I believe that tool has not been turned back on yet, or? Okay. In the coming weeks, this tool will be turned back on. I can tell you that you're here because you are in one of these rooms, and it was a different method of finding which teachers were associated with this room than the one I'm talking about now. That tool will be turned back on, and you will be able to go into Canvas, click on Panopto, automated recording, and basically you sign up for it. It is just that simple. The only thing you need to do at that point when you're expected to, or if you're expecting a recording, is to come in, plug in your laptop, turn on a microphone, either the wireless lavalier, which is in every automated recording room, or, and I'm going to turn it off right now, and there'll be a silent part on the recording. I have switched over to the podium mic. You actually might not hear me as much, it's a little bit amplified, but there are some modalities where I want to turn off my microphone, and for everyone in the class, here's a little something for you. For those watching at home, they're going to miss out on this. Muting your microphone is a method to do that. Just sort of an FYI. Some instructors really love that feature, some do not. And I get to the AV bridge, that will come up again. If I forget to bring it up again, please let me know. But this is all to say, you need to have a voice amplification of some sort to make it to the recording, or else the students will hear nothing. On the automated recordings, the screen grab is Anything you see on the projector, the students will see in the Panopto recording. They are also seeing, and then just going to do this to illustrate the point, side by side, they're going to see the room camera as well. They have the option of switching between the two but what they're going to have as their primary, but almost always they're going to select the slides and then have the camera in the corner just as sort of a frame of reference. You, of course, have to plug in your laptop or whatever device you're using, hit send to projector, and then you're off to the races. That's really it. Make sure you can hear yourself in the room, see your content on the screen, and you should be good to go. Is there a question? Yes. And I'm going to do something really quick. I'm going to repeat the question because this is going to come up too. The method for capturing a question from the audience is to repeat it. I know that it feels like that might slow things down. It actually keeps things moving quite a bit. So the question was, does it have to be either the wireless or the podium? It does have to be either. It can be both. They're both on right now. We don't suggest it. It can lead to confusion and very rarely technical problems. But yes, just to kind of touch back on that, repeating the question is what we're advising for people that, well, I need a microphone for the students. We've found over decades of events and classes that running a mic out to the audience is usually going to take longer and cause more problems than provide solutions. Yes. Sure, and then at the end, you should have time for everyone to come around and take a look at this, at the console, and test your stuff if there's time for that. We also have some open houses running tomorrow and the next day in Denny Hall and in Kane Hall. So that information is also in the email that was sent out. And the classes are open, so you'll be able to come in, drop in, test out your gear. We have one of each room type available to instructors in Kane and in Denny Hall. So the question was send a projector, how to do that. The touch panel will be somewhat self-explanatory. Yes. Oh. So the question is about software, what's needed. For automated rooms, there's no additional software needed. If you're scheduled for an automated Panopto recording room, you really just have to come in and teach class like normal. Just make sure your microphone's. Well, that's dependent on your material that you'll be presenting. That should be fine. So the question is for non-automated Panopto rooms, do you have to bring your own device with software installed? Yes, you do. That would be the rooms that are just a USB input for a laptop. This is going to feed your laptop running software of choice, and I'll show you how to do that. So the software that the UW uses is Panopto, and Panopto is easily downloaded from all. Yes. It's. I don't think you even need a full client to download the software to most devices. Any more questions for automated before I move on to the slightly more tricky stuff? Okay, great. For the AV bridge or USB camera and audio input, we actually have we have videos for pretty much everything in our classroom. It's one of the things we were able to accomplish over the pandemic is how to use Panopto, Zoom, using laptops, classroom audio, Blu-ray player, desktop computer, document camera, and then the one that we kind of send to everyone is our touch panel instructional video. So links to this channel were also in that email. I highly encourage everyone, if you're feeling a little nervous about using the gear, to check these out first. It takes about 30 minutes to watch all of them, or you can just watch the ones that you know you're going to be using. But for using Zoom or Panopto, I'm going to be basically reenacting one of these videos for you. So I'll open Zoom. course, log in the proper way. And to think about for projector hide. This is actually something for automated recordings. I just hid the projector. Everyone in the room now does not know what I'm doing. It's still being captured in the recording. This is a heads up for you. Like a lot of instructors will projector hide. All right, I'm gonna go check my email and pull open some, other information. That is being recorded. So if you're being recorded, everything you're doing at the console is being recorded. Just best to assume that. Okay, back to show. And so here I just have Zoom open. I'm going to take the USB cable that says record out, Panopto recording, camera audio feed. It's going to be a USB-A cable, which is important to consider. If your laptop only has USB-C inputs or outputs, you will need to get an adapter. So this is going to plug directly into my laptop. With the happy sound. It will take about 10 to 30 seconds to install drivers if you've never plugged into one of these before, but it goes pretty quick. Next, and this is just for Zoom, I'm going to go to video first, and this is a great example. I use this laptop for meetings for myself a lot of the time, and I don't always know which location I'm going to be in. So I have blur background on. That's why it's blurry. It took me a second the last time I did this because I was like, what's going on? So background filters, blur, none. There we go, crystal clear. So what you should see after you've plugged in the USB cable, and this is true in Panopto and in Zoom, and I can open Panopto next if we like, but they're both going to say something along the lines of UVC camera. If they don't all say UVC camera, they'll say something pretty similar. You can also see that this is still available. And hello, that's something you can do in call. It might work its way into your pedagogy, but neither here nor there. Switching cameras is a function and a feature of Zoom, so that is available. But what I'm looking for now, we got camera, great. What I'm looking for now is the audio levels, and I can see them bouncing right here in the middle of the screen. I know I'm in good shape and that the far end is going to be able to hear me because I see input level and I see a blue line bouncing up and down. In Panopto, it's a pair of green bars that you'll see bouncing up and down. But I know now that I'm in good shape here. And let's see. Yeah, I do have it. Great. Now I'm going to bring this up because this is a very important part of Panopto or Zoom in a class, and I'm using the word "or" very pointedly here. You cannot run Panopto and Zoom on the same device because they will be fighting over the microphone and the camera. In fact, I've got UVC camera selected here, and you can see I don't have any audio levels right here. And if I go back to Zoom, which I have open right now, and video, it's been kicked off. I've actually created a scenario on my laptop where, and I'm about to find out, I might have to restart my laptop because now my laptop is confused. It's not sure which software can use the hardware. But I'm going to exit Zoom, which you actually have to do on a Windows machine in the system tray. Exit. And it doesn't look like Panopto was able to grab the microphone. Even though it sees it, I can go back to now I'm on the microphone array of the laptop. That's something to look for. If you're like, oh, I see the green lines, I'm good, I'm in good shape, I'm gonna go walk away, and I'm gonna keep talking, and now I don't have any audio. So we gotta be careful about stuff like that as well. And if I try to go back to the AV bridge, let's see. Yeah, it's not looking good. So I'm going to close Panopto entirely. reopen it. Hopefully I'll be in good shape. Otherwise, I'm looking at restarting my machine. Check, 1, 2. So, reached kind of a point where, my class will not be recorded if I'm trying to use my laptop right now. So, restart. Hopefully, don't have too many updates pending. Because this is definitely, I understand, providing enough live support, that this part right here is one of the scariest moments when you have a room of 300, 700 people waiting for class to start. And while it's doing that, I'll take any questions about what I've done so far with the AV bridge or USB input. Yes, please.
So going back to his question about
Correct. So the question is Zoom, Panopto, asynchronous, how are people going to be able to watch this recording? In rooms where you want to record and use Zoom, but only have the USB, you're going to have to use Zoom's record feature. Okay. So for rooms that have an automated recorder, not to muddy the waters too much, but you can use both at the same time since the recording is happening up there. It's not happening on the same machine. So if you wanted to use Zoom in an automated room, you can do that using the USB-C interface, or USB camera audio interface. And you would use Zoom pretty much normally as you would on your laptop. I also want to be I want to caution about the modality there, though, because I know a lot of people will want to they hear that and they'll say, well, use Zoom to have, off-site participants. Be very careful with that. We do not suggest that because if you're trying to manage a Zoom call, chat, and teach your class, it's going to be a detriment probably to everyone. So if you're going to use Zoom in an automated Panopto room to host offsite participants, doable, but I would not expect synchronous participation from a class that is offsite. But a better example, an even better example of Zoom in one of these rooms would be a guest speaker. A guest speaker will just show up on screen and sound like they're right here, and they will see the room camera on their Zoom call like they're in the classroom. It's I've done a couple tests of it. It works really well. But again, automated recorder, Zoom on a device. That's really the only use case that's going to work. Otherwise, if you're in a classroom with just the USB interface, it'll be Zoom recording to the cloud. Yes? Go for it. I'm going to let Elle speak to that. So it's about automated.
So that is a bug. It came up occasionally for some users that those recordings would get stuck processing. It was partly due to the fact that Zoom servers were scaling up to the enormous demand at the time. So we don't see that as often anymore, but it does happen on occasion. If anyone here runs into a situation where you've recorded to Zoom and it says processing, email help@uw.edu, because what we can do is we can bug Zoom directly on your behalf and say, hey, this is still processing. What's going on? And they will actually fix it, and the recording will be recovered. So there is a solution for that. It just requires us doing a little bit of extra poking at the Zoom support team. So that is an option there, but should cover it. I haven't seen one of those in a while. I was going to say, it's been a while since I've seen one of those.
And that's probably where my advice right now is. It's dated when I'm saying, don't use local. It's probably just from the very beginning of this, a hangover on my part from that.
Which reminds me that the other thing is if you do choose to record locally, which is totally an awesome option. Also, if anyone's working in medicine and you work with patients, so your Zoom account doesn't have cloud recording enabled right now, recording locally is great. You can upload those directly to Panopto as well, and that way you have the ability to keep those recordings and potentially the student interactions on them private to your class. So if you want any more instructions on how to upload directly to Panopto, we can speak to that too when we get to the Q&A period.
And I think we're about there. I don't have too much more tech demo to provide, unless some of the parts that I showed were at all confusing. And it is there's like automated versus non-automated and what each can do. There's a lot of complexity there. So if any of the physical steps that I've shown you, which are fairly straightforward, but if you do them in the wrong order, any questions about what you've seen so far? Yes?
As
Great question. So the capture will come from the USB, but you will still need to send your signal using an HDMI cable or a VGA, or there is wireless display too, but I want to caution, there's some things to consider with Apple laptops where they're a little bit more locked down when it comes to copyright protection, and I don't want to go down the path of using the words copyright protection, but just to illustrate the point, they lock down when they see a recording device downstream. Apple devices tend to lock down and not output any signal. So that is to say, when you're using an Apple device in an automated recording room, we always say use VGA with a VGA adapter. When you're recording locally to your laptop, it's not as big of a problem. But I would advise caution when using things like Apple TV and basically HDMI. Even if you're recording locally to your own laptop, it might work just fine, but I would caution and say just use the VGA to be safe. Yes? Sure, yes. So in a situation where you're using the camera to capture whiteboards, I believe you mentioned earlier you're in Nano 181. That room actually was designed with that in mind. So I believe there might even be 2 cameras in the room that are mounted opposite each other. I have to take a look and pull up the room photo in a minute. But even if there's just one camera in a room, they should have a full pan tilt zoom. And I'm going to zoom in. Actually, I guess there's a sign right over here. Hello. So I'll just pull this out for a second. Well, hold something up anyway. So they have really good pickup. That's as zoomed in as it's going to go, but I can tell you that I know the camera in Nano 181 is closer than that. So even though this wall is kind of like a nightmare scenario because it's closer to this wall, it's going to be a little bit more askew. The camera in Nano is dead center, so it's going to have a 180-degree view of the whole room. And just to give you an idea, go to the other side. Oh, one touch at a time. That would have been a better one to zoom in on the first time. So, they should be able to capture most standard writing on a whiteboard. The way you would achieve that to make it a little bit more seamless is we can help program, or if they're not programmed already, the presets that are on the touch panel that I can see right now and that you'll all see in a moment. There are 6 presets for every in-room camera. I think there's a small handful where the presets won't be accessible on the touch panel, but those are pretty small rooms where it's going to be a fixed angle anyway. That is an excellent question. The question is, when are the rooms going to be open? Absolutely understandable. And I wish I could answer the question more completely. But what can I say is kind of what I said at the beginning, where we have room types that will match any room type on campus. But absent of any guidance of when we are allowed to open these spaces, I have to offer that. I can tell you that my preventive maintenance team, numbers as they are, will need to start opening doors the week before, but that is in no way official, and I just recorded it. But that's the right. That's the best answer I have right now. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer. Yeah. So access to the spaces, we're working on it. There's there are last-minute preparations being made, and it's making it a bit tricky. Yes? Well, I mean, you can hear me now. I can pull up a test recording as well. They're honestly pretty crystal clear. I know that has been a major concern that we've been fielding. We actually had classes open during the pandemic too. We had on-site classes that were taking place, and that was a concern. Before we knew what we know now, we were only letting instructors use the podium microphone, and that's still, it has great pickup, even with a mask on. The lavalier microphones, yes, 9th and 10th is correct. And so Kane 120, 110, and Denny, I want to say 256 and 250. Oh, no, it's just these are the AV bridge or USB camera input rooms. The other ones are either a podium room, they're just really, so any instructor can get familiar with the equipment, the setup, that sort of thing. There's also a short cabinet. So there's just a few different room types. But if you're here, at least one of your courses is scheduled in a room with a USB camera and audio input. If they are not in one of the 78 rooms equipped with one of the 78 out of nearly 300 rooms equipped with a USB camera audio feed, they will need to bring their own devices or use the camera or equipment that's on the laptop. Thank you for coming. Our department really appreciates instructors getting out in front of this, and preemptively apologize for what we're going to be able to do and not be able to do come fall, but we are trying to get out in front of it ourselves, and we are around. It might take us a little bit longer to get there once school starts, but we are here, and we will get to every record, and it will be a ton of fun. So, thank you. Oh, wow, thank you.